The Untouched Feast, a story of family, privilege, and silent hunger. Introduction: The Gilded Table. Growing up, I learned that family gatherings weren't always about togetherness. Sometimes they were about the stark contrast between abundance and scarcity, played out across polished mahogany tables and empty kitchen cupboards. My Aunt Patricia lived 3 blocks away in a mansion that looked like it belonged in a lifestyle magazine, while my mother, her younger sister, struggled to keep our lights on in our small rental house. Every holiday season brought the same painful ritual: watching mountains of gourmet food get scraped into trash bags while my stomach growled, knowing we'd return home to instant noodles and canned soup. This is the story of how silence became complicity, how pride became prison, and how one Thanksgiving finally shattered the carefully maintained illusion that everything was fine. The Tale of Two Sisters. My mother, Sarah, was 42 when this story begins, with tired eyes that had seen too many disappointments and hands roughened from double shifts at the textile factory. Her sister, Patricia, was only 4 years older, but lived in an entirely different world. Patricia had married wealth at 23, a real estate developer named Richard who turned every property he touched into profit. They lived in a colonial-style mansion with 6 bedrooms for just 2 people, while Mom, my younger brother Danny, and I shared a 2-bedroom apartment where the heating worked sporadically. The sisters hadn't always been distant. Mom showed me photographs from their childhood: 2 girls in matching dresses, arms linked, smiling at a county fair. But somewhere along the way, Patricia's ascent into affluence created an invisible wall between them. Mom never asked for help. Pride ran deep in our family, and Patricia never offered, perhaps assuming we were managing fine or perhaps preferring not to see what was directly in front of her. The holiday invitations. Every year without fail, the embossed invitation would arrive. Patricia and Richard cordially invite you to celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter at Rosewood Manor. The invitations were beautiful, printed on heavy cardstock with elegant calligraphy. Mom would hold them for a long moment, something unreadable crossing her face, before placing them on our refrigerator with a magnet. "Are we going?" Danny would ask, already knowing the answer. He was 12 that year, all elbows and knees, growing faster than we could afford to clothe him. "Of course," Mom would say, forcing brightness into her voice. "It's family." What she didn't say was that she'd already started skipping lunches at work to save money for the hostess gift she'd bring: a nice bottle of wine or fancy chocolates that would disappear into Patricia's vast pantry, probably forgotten. What she didn't say was that she hoped, every single time, that maybe this year would be different. Maybe this year Patricia would notice. Maybe this year the invitation would extend beyond a single afternoon. The mansion experience. Rosewood Manor was exactly what it sounded like: 15 rooms of marble floors, designer furniture, and artwork that cost more than our annual rent. Every holiday, we'd arrive in our 12-year-old sedan, parking beside BMWs and Mercedes. Patricia would greet us at the door in an outfit that probably cost more than Mom's monthly salary, her hug brief and perfunctory. "Sarah, you made it. And the children, look how you've grown," she'd exclaim, as if she hadn't seen us just 3 months prior. Her home always smelled of expensive candles and catered food, never the warm, lived-in smell of actual cooking. The dining room table stretched endlessly, covered with platters of prime rib, honey-glazed ham, lobster tail, artisanal cheeses, 3 types of potatoes, roasted vegetables glistening with herb butter, and desserts that looked like edible art. There were usually 10 to 15 guests, mostly Richard's business associates and their families, people who discussed vacation homes and stock portfolios while we sat quietly, trying to blend into the expensive wallpaper. The hunger behind smiles. Here's what nobody tells you about being poor at a rich person's party. You're constantly performing. You smile and say, "Everything's wonderful," when asked how you're doing. You pretend you're not calculating the cost of every dish, not thinking about how the untouched shrimp cocktail tower costs more than your weekly grocery budget. You watch your mother's tight smile as she makes small talk, knowing she hasn't eaten since yesterday to ensure Danny and I had breakfast. I was 15 that Thanksgiving, old enough to understand the dynamics, but not old enough to hide my resentment. I watched Patricia's guests take single bites of items and abandon their plates. I watched servers remove barely touched platters to make room for the next course. I watched my brother's eyes follow the food, his stomach audibly growling during a lull in conversation. "Would you like more?" Patricia asked Danny kindly, noticing his gaze. He looked at Mom, who gave the smallest nod. He took another small serving, eating slowly, trying to make it last. What Patricia didn't know was that this meal would be the best thing we'd eat all week. The trash ritual. The worst part came after dinner during cleanup. Patricia always insisted Mom didn't need to help, but Mom always insisted back. It was the polite thing to do. I'd follow them into the kitchen, and that's where the true tragedy unfolded. Industrial trash bags filled with barely touched food. Entire trays of appetizers with only a few pieces missing. Half a prime rib, desserts with single forkfuls removed. The catering staff worked efficiently, scraping plate after plate into the disposal or trash. "Such a shame about the waste," Patricia would sigh, but Richard insists on having plenty. "Can't have guests going hungry." She'd laugh at the irony she couldn't see. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab those trash bags and take them home. I wanted to ask why she couldn't see us, really see us. Instead, I stayed silent, watching thousands of dollars of food disappear while mentally calculating that we had maybe $40 to last until Mom's next paycheck in 5 days. Danny and I would eat that food. We'd eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'd eat it cold or reheated or straight from the container. We'd be grateful for every bite. The breaking point. The breaking point came on Christmas Eve, 3 months after that Thanksgiving. We hadn't had heat in our apartment for 2 weeks. The landlord kept promising repairs that never came. Mom had been picking up extra shifts, which meant Danny and I were alone most evenings, layering every piece of clothing we owned and huddling under blankets. We'd been eating rice and beans for 10 days straight. Patricia's invitation arrived as always. And something in me snapped. "I'm not going," I told Mom. "I can't watch her throw away food again while we're living like this." "Emma, she's family," Mom said weakly, but there were tears in her eyes. "Then why doesn't she act like it?" I demanded. "She knows we're struggling. She has to know. She lives 3 blocks away and has never once visited our apartment. She's never asked if we need anything. She watches us come to her parties in the same clothes year after year, and she says nothing." Mom was quiet for a long time. "Pride goes both ways, sweetheart. I've never asked for help." "You shouldn't have to ask," I said. "She's your sister." The confrontation. I went to that Christmas dinner, but I went with purpose. After the meal, after watching the same wasteful ritual begin, I found Patricia alone in her study. A room lined with books that probably had never been read, filled with furniture that cost more than our car. "Aunt Patricia," I said, my voice shaking, "can I talk to you?" She looked up from her phone, surprised. "Of course, Emma, what's on your mind?" The words tumbled out. The cold apartment, the empty cupboards, Mom's skipped meals, Danny's too small clothes, the scholarships I was desperately seeking because college seemed impossible, the humiliation of watching food worth hundreds thrown away while we survived on rice. I told her everything. Her face went pale, then red. "Why didn't your mother say something?" she whispered. "Why didn't you ask?" I countered. "You're her sister. You see us 3 times a year wearing the same outfits. You've never visited our home. You've never asked how we're really doing, not really. You didn't want to know because knowing meant you'd have to do something about it." The aftermath and awakening. The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia's carefully maintained world had cracked, and she couldn't hide behind ignorance anymore. To her credit, she didn't make excuses. She sat there for a long moment, really looking at me, perhaps really seeing us for the first time in years. "I convinced myself you were okay," she finally said. It was easier than admitting I'd let the distance grow so far. Easier than facing that I'd become someone who throws away food while family goes hungry 3 blocks away. Your mother's pride made it easy to pretend everything was fine. That night, things changed. Patricia wrote a check that made Mom cry, not for charity, she insisted, but as back payment for years of neglected sisterhood. She connected Mom with a better job through Richard's company. She started showing up at our apartment, really seeing how we lived, helping in ways that respected Mom's dignity while addressing our needs. But more than the financial help, she started being present. Real visits, real conversations, real family connection that didn't happen just during catered holidays. The moral of silent hunger. Years later, I think about that Christmas Eve confrontation often. It taught me that proximity isn't the same as presence, that family isn't just about blood or holiday invitations, and that sometimes love requires the uncomfortable act of truly seeing each other, especially when what we see challenges our comfort. Patricia had convinced herself that not asking meant respecting boundaries, that Mom's pride absolved her of responsibility. But there's a difference between respecting someone's dignity and using their silence as permission to remain comfortably ignorant. Real family, real love, pushes through the awkwardness and asks the hard questions. The morality here isn't simple. Mom's pride prevented her from asking for help she desperately needed. Patricia's avoidance allowed suffering she could have easily prevented. Both sisters were trapped in a dance of silence that served no one. It took a teenager's blunt honesty to break the pattern. The lesson extends beyond our family. How many of us witness struggle and convince ourselves it's not our place to intervene? How many times do we accept surface level, "I'm fine," responses because the truth would require something from us? Compassion without action is just sentiment. Privilege without awareness becomes cruelty, even when unintentional. The food thrown away at those parties was never really about waste. It was a symbol of disconnection, of abundance blind to scarcity, of family members occupying the same space while living worlds apart. When we finally bridged that gap, we found that the greatest hunger had never been for food at all, but for genuine connection, for being truly seen and valued, for family that shows up in the difficult moments, not just the catered ones.